Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number 1 in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
Oh my gosh, how are we doing now? I'm trying to determine before we get started if we're getting static or not, because last time towards the end we got a little bit. Alright, are we sounding good now? Glasses on. Let's see. What do we got on the notes for this week? The PlayStation 1 Mini. Oh yes, these mini devices. The subject of many a discussion. We're going to talk about that PlayStation 1 Mini just a little bit towards the end of the show. And we're going to play some awesome jams because it's been really focused on music here in my place for the past couple weeks. I'm really looking forward to rolling out some awesome stuff. So let's do this. First thing I want to do is listen to this again and make sure I'm getting no static. It sounds good. We got some van casts this week a little bit. Oh boy. So yesterday, Friday evening, as soon as I got home from work, we went out and got new phones, which was pretty cool. I've had this Galaxy S5 for several years now. Three and a half years, almost 4 years. And I bumped up to, oh boy, oh crackle. Hang on, might get a little more. I'm just moving the cable out of the way. I know, I'm so sorry. I want to go back and record it again better, but there just isn't time. Anyway, I was at Best Buy, and it took 4 hours for my wife and I to get new phones, which is great. The phones are great, and by the way, the people there were doing the best they could. Just the data transfer, and it took all night. So I didn't get to do TCR Friday night like I normally do. And now here it is. I'm struggling, but we got some awesome stuff to go over. So let's take this hour, and we're really going to make it count, all right? All right, so this first track is from Aesthetics Please. It's called Roller Boogie. It's from a little EP called Roller Boogie Jams. There's only 3 tracks on it, but hey man, it's free. Go get yourself a copy because this is awesome. This is on my playlist. I listen to this a lot when I'm working out. When I got those, when I got the dumbbells, and I really want to feel like it's 1984. This is what I play. I think you'll like it. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you feeling that? Oh, my goodness. What a track. And look, to be fair, a lot of these future funk tracks and vaporwave tracks, it's just stolen audio for the most part. I mean, not everybody, let's be fair, but a good portion of this, these guys that put out albums like once every 2 weeks or something, and they have a full-length album out, a lot of that is just, a little loop here, a little snip there you go. That might be what this is. You know what? I'm going to be honest, that might be what this is, but I love that track. Holy crap. I dig future funk. That's a good thing. All right. So let's go back to the van. We're going to listen to I have 2 van casts this week, and they're the last 2 van casts recorded on the Galaxy S5. From there, I'm moving on to the S8, or excuse me, the S9. So I think there's going to be, after this week, there's going to be a boost in van cast audio quality. But I haven't recorded one yet, so we're going to find out. All right, let's go. Good morning, everybody. It's the Vancast. It is Monday morning. It is raining and gross and it's just awful outside, and I'm ready to make the best of it. Oh, it's been a long weekend. I hope everybody had a good Veterans Day. I hope you thanked a veteran. I know we did. Had some time off. Got to play some games. I spent most of the time with my family. I had Monday off of work, which is why last week TCR went up a day late. And my son had school, but my daughter didn't. So I spent the whole morning just playing games with my daughter, who's 4, running around the house, just having a good time. It was good. We had a good time. Saturday morning, we always go to the gym. That's the thing we do in my house. The kids have some like gymnastics, tumbling type classes that they do. And my wife does yoga, and I usually run and I lift weights. So we did that. And in the morning, I was able to head over to the card store, the game store, the local game store. We went to the LGS in town, and at the local game store, they've got these huge boxes filled with Magic cards, and it's their common pit. And it's full of common and uncommon cards, but the idea is anything you find in the box is 5 cents. So I went to that box and I spent about, 20 minutes and about $4 on a big stack of cards. Which, by the way, is one of my favorite things to do. However good or bad the Magic cards are, I love sorting through that big old box. It's one of my favoriteest things. It really is. Walked out of there with a big stack of cards. Went to the gym, worked out. Feeling pretty good. It was a good weekend. I think it was Friday night, might have been Saturday night. I got to stay up and play Dead by Daylight with one of the guys from work, which was awesome. Dead by Daylight is an amazing game. If you don't have it, Thanksgiving sales are going to be just around the corner. By the time you're listening to this, the Thanksgiving sales are probably only a couple of days away. But this is a game that's still being developed for. It's still right on target, and it's still a good buy to get today. So Dead by Daylight, faux show. Shockingly enough, this past Halloween, I can't believe Friday the 13th dropped down to $6. That was a $40 game for the longest time, and it went on sale from $40 down to $20, and I was like, oh yeah, $20, I'm getting a deal. So I hope some of you guys got Friday the 13th when it was on sale, because that was an awesome game. And I don't care that it's not being developed for anymore. If you just take what's there now, it's an awesome game, especially for $6. So good. My goodness. I know there's bugs.
there's enough bugs that in the 40 or so hours I played it, I saw plenty of bugs, but it didn't matter. It was still an awesome game that I had fun playing. All right, hang on a second. Let me make sure I'm going the right way here. It's raining outside, and I'm doing the morning commute. So I got to be honest, I'm a little nervous about this. I have the feeling I might pull the plug short on this one. Last night, I spent most of the evening putting in codes for Vaporwave albums into my Bandcamp account. Over on Reddit, what they do is, in order to promote their albums, what people will do is take a screenshot with like 50 or 60 free unlock codes, and they'll post it as an image on Reddit. And you can manually type these codes in, and you'll unlock whatever the album is into your account. Very common practice, and it's small albums, right? Small enough where they can post 50 codes, and by the time you see it, there's still codes available to use. So I spent a lot of time last night just putting in these codes and unlocking Vaporwave albums, which was a good time. Vaporwave has been pretty big for me in the past couple weeks, and so is cassette tapes. I dusted off my cassette tapes, took a picture of the majority of my tape collection, and I got involved in the cassette culture subreddit, which is kind of fun. People are they're doing like old-fashioned cassette-based mixtapes and then exchanging them with each other through the mail. So I got on Amazon and I got me a stack of 7 like 90-minute blank tapes. And I'm gonna make some mixtapes and exchange them, because that sounds awesome to me. I love cassettes, man. I never stopped buying cassettes either. Every couple of years, I'll pick one up and just add it to the collection. So I've got a pretty good collection of tapes, I must say. Although there are a few that just turned up missing, and this has been driving me crazy. I had a little stack of like maybe 4 or 5 tapes, and I don't know what I did with them. This was a couple of years ago. And some of my good tapes were in that stack, and they're now gone. So I can tell you for sure, I'm missing In Utero from Nirvana. I'm missing a Rollins Band tape, and I'm missing Social Distortion. And specifically, it's the Social Distortion tape that really bothers me, because Social D is absolutely awesome. And I can't remember where those went, and they've been gone for so many years. It's just like the hands of time opened up and just pulled a few tapes out of my collection. What are you gonna do? You know? I'll tell you one thing, I'm dying to get down to the thrift store again. See what I can find down there. Cassette tapes used to be so prevalent, but I think because of hipsters and stuff. Hipsters like me, by the way, I'm completely self-aware on this one. I don't think it's quite as much as it used to be. You know, what are you gonna do? Okay, so if I were back in the lair, and I was able to play video games, play whatever I wanted, I would do a number of things. I've spent some time recently playing Terraria. My kids love Terraria. That is my kids' game of choice. So there is an item in Terraria called the Magic Mirror, right? If you use it, it automatically warps you back to town. So the idea is you get this thing, and you can go mining deep into the earth, use the Magic Mirror, and then go back to town without having to walk, right? My son has one of these, and my daughter does not. And she cries every time they play, because she doesn't have a Magic Mirror, and she wants one so bad. And she's only 4, so she doesn't know how to effectively play the game herself and go find one. So you know what? That's all right. Dad to the rescue. So I spent some time on my laptop once I was done putting in Bandcamp codes playing Terraria on my laptop, trying to get a magic mirror for my daughter. And this is maybe the second or third time I sat down to do this, and I'm just coming up empty. I don't know what the deal is. But to be fair, it's fun trying. It's fun having a mission, and like, I'm gonna go out and do this, and she's gonna get the magic mirror, and she's gonna be so happy, and I have a reason to play this game, and it's gonna be awesome. So it's for my daughter to get her special item, but it's also fun. It's fun to have that goal. Well, so with that, back in the place, I'd probably sit down in my office chair, put the kettle on, turn on some music, and just hang out and play Terraria. Try and get that magic mirror for my baby girl. I think that'd be a fun morning, actually. Well, guys and gals, I'm about getting ready to get on the highway here, so I like to be off of this before I get on the highway. So I'm going to send you back to the studio. I'll see you guys there.
This next track is like, it's just a tiny little track, but I gotta explain this. It's huge to me. There was a PS1 game, okay, called Assault Rigs. It was, I guess you would call it a Battlezone clone. You would drive a tank, you would shoot things. A lot of the levels had this early 3D, really careless texturing where they would just make these gross textures of just anything, draw a picture or whatever of a face, and they'd throw it up as a texture on the walls. And you'd drive this tank around and you'd shoot. Gameplay-wise, hey, it's a lot of fun. You drive in a tank, you're shooting stuff. It's awesome. It was one of the few games on the PS1 that was link cable compatible. There was a link cable for the PS1 where if you had 2 TVs, 2 PlayStations, 2 of the same game, and a link cable, yeah, you could play with a little LAN party. Not many. I remember Command & Conquer was one of the games, and this is Assault Rigs, okay? Now, the reason why it's special is because Assault Rigs had a demo on a demo disc that we had, and I wish I could remember what the demo disc was called or what else was on it, but I remember this level. One level, and it would go entering arena, bum 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 bum, and the track that played was more memorable than anything else about that game. It was so good. You got to understand, in the PS1 era, when they wanted to, what they were doing, a lot of games would do was they would hire bands and commission actual, funk music, rock music, whatever it is they were going to do. They would commission it from just bands. So who made this song? What is it called? We'll never know. I have it listed in my tracks. Hang on a second. Let me bust open the track list. It's going to load up. I just got finished doing like a cassette tape. I made a cassette tape for like a mixtape exchange over on Reddit. That's why I have this handy. Let's see. Mine was like a synth wave, synth pop sort of mix, but it had a little future funk on it as well. I would consider this a funk track for sure. This is all it says is Assault Rigs Music, Industrial Zone A. Well, all right, boys and girls, that's more than enough wind up. Let me just take you back to the very late 90s, to a very memorable piece of music. what a track. It's pretty simple. It's got a pretty repetitive melody, but my goodness, let this podcast end and not for at least a second think back and go, ow, 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 ow. I dare you. You know you're going to do it. You know at least once, at least inside your head for a half second. Ow, ow, ow. I got to figure out how to phonetically spell that noise. Ow, ow. And that's going to be the name of the podcast. If you're looking at that jumble of letters and trying to figure out what it means, this is how you read it. Ow, 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 ow. That's it. That's the name of this week's TCR. And speaking of which, I want to take some time to do a quick shout out to the people who are supporting the show. This is a Patreon sponsored show. The Patreon subscribers, they make a huge difference in my life. They really do. And so, in order to give back, I give them a couple of things. I give them as soon as the podcast is done, it goes up. And I'm really sorry that it didn't go up this Friday night. I give them early access. I also give them some supporter exclusive content. I created a chiptune review, which is just all the songs that were played on the last 10 episodes of TCR. I have that all set to go. I haven't been able to get it together to upload it because I wanted to make sure the track list went with it. That's going up this Monday. So by the time the rest of you are hearing this podcast, the supporter exclusive chiptune review is going to be up. And I also read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen. And they are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, and the Cartridge Brothers. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate the support, and I hope you guys feel you're getting your money's worth, because I'm doing the best I can to hold up my end of the bargain. Got something in my teeth. I had the kids up here in the office today. We were playing Terraria again. It's been months, and this is every time. Hey, man, Dad, look, I got some game time, right? I did the chores. I want to play some games. We're going to play some Terraria, and that's the only game I care about. It's it, man. It's something about being a kid. They're able to lock on a game, and that's their game. I can't do that now. I always kind of thought that was because of, hey, it's the number of games I have access to, man. I've got literally thousands of games. I've got thousands of games in my Steam account. I've got hundreds and hundreds of games just hanging around the house in physical format. I got games all over the place. It's really hard for me to lock on one. I know some people are good at it. I just have a hard time with it. There's not a whole lot of time to go around. If I want to play 10 different games, I got to play a little bit, on each one. That's just how life goes. These kids, that's not how it is. Hey, man, we like Terraria. That's what we're going to play. I went to a PTA meeting, not a PTA meeting, the parent-teacher conferences for my son. He's fine. You do this every year. You just go in. Teacher gives you a rundown on how it's going. Everybody who has kids does this. And one of the things that she showed us, the teacher was like, he's doing great. He's digging school. It's going very, very well. Here's something he wrote, and it was an essay that my son wrote, and he was supposed to write an opinion piece, and his opinion piece was comparing the pros and cons of Minecraft versus Terraria. And I wish I had it here to read it off on the air, but he's like, Terraria is way better than Minecraft. Here's why. It's like all the combat and all the items you can get. He really digs this. This is a kid that's going to grow up, and he's 9 years old now. He's going to grow up, and he's going to look back on his youthful days and think back on all the games he played with his sister and his dad as a kid. And the number one game, at least in this era in his life, is going to be Terraria on Steam. Can you believe that? Let me think back for a second to when I was 9 years old. Now, first of all, I've got to do some math because I have to figure out exactly when that was. All right, so it's going to be 1984 plus 9. 1993. What was I playing in 1993? So the Nintendo 64 hadn't come out yet. I think that was when my parents were banning video games. So we had an NES, and I think at that point I had already been exposed to River City Ransom. River City Ransom was a game that I played. A guy at the church who was really good friends with my older brother brought that over one day, and we locked on it. I loved it. You could, beat people up and take their money and go spend it on groceries. I loved that you never got game over. You just lost money, so you could just fight and fight and fight as much as you wanted, and it was fine. So I think in 1993, River City Ransom was probably my favorite game, although I'd really have to think about that. River City Ransom, and then on the computer we would play like Space Quest when, in rare occasions when we could. Space Quest 5 I think was the best game that I got to play in those days. And that was it. Miles away from Terraria. I certainly didn't do LAN parties with my father. That's awesome. Being a dad is really cool, guys. It's one of those moments where it's like, I know when you hear people talk about parenthood, all you ever really hear is, hey man, it's a quarter century of responsibility. It's tough. It's nothing but lost sleep. And you know what? There is a lot of that. But I really dig it. It's been good. I like being a dad. All right, video games, right? So what we're going to do now, and I wish I could remember what was said on these, because it makes it harder for me to introduce them. I like to say, hey, in this Vancast, we're going to talk about apples, oranges, and video games. I can't remember any of that. This was all, like, I do these Vancasts early in the morning on the way to work, and I believe when you listen to these, you can tell that I'm a different character at that time. Now, it's 7:55 on Saturday night, 7:55 p.m. right now, and you're talking about something that's recorded at 6:15 to 6:30 in the morning on a weekday, in inclement weather, no less. I think it's normal for those two situations to call for completely separate personalities. It just is. So let's see. Let's jump in the Wayback Machine and see what it's like. I'll see you guys there.
It's the Vancast, everybody, and it's a cold Friday morning here on the East Coast of the United States, in Maryland. Boy, we had some snow yesterday. Started as a little sleet, and then it turned into ice, and it was a big mess. Seems to have warmed up through the middle of the night. I was able to scrape off the windshield, and and now it seems like the roads are nice and clear. So first one of the year, man. I forgot that feeling of getting out and scraping the windshield before getting in the car. 'Tis the season. Yesterday I got to play some Dead by Daylight, which was awesome. Such a good game. Oh my gosh. But most of the time that I had yesterday, I spent working on a cassette tape, a mixtape exchange from Cassette Culture over on Reddit. There was a thread where people would get hooked up with each other and they would exchange mixtapes. And there you go. So the person I was going to change tapes with said, hey, I like synthwave and synth pop. I said, all right, I can do that. Went through my MP3s and I put together what I feel is a really strong tape. It was a 90-minute tape, so I did 43 minutes on either side, just so that there wouldn't be that partial song at the end, And printed out a cover. It was great. I made the dub. Just got the package all ready and put it in the mailbox this morning. So that should be out in a couple days. I really had fun with that process. Making a good old-fashioned mixtape. Just like back in the day. We used to make mixtapes on my older brother's boombox to play while we were playing Magic the Gathering, which was good fun. It was good fun. So by the way, over on Patreon, I'm gonna post 2 MP3s that are about 43 minutes apiece. in case you want to make your own copy of the of the mixtape. And then I'll post the J card insert. It's got a picture of Anne Margaret on the cover. It's a good tape. I liked it enough that I made a copy for myself to keep. So if you want to make one for yourself, or if you just want to get a couple of decent podcasts with no talking or anything like that, just the music, that should be a fun extra that I can throw up there for you guys. Well, that's about it for me. I'm kind of in a holding pattern until Thanksgiving comes, which is next week, by the way. We're so close to Thanksgiving. Get to see some extended family. Get to see some good sales on Steam, hopefully. Until then, I'm just getting in some game time where I can, and I'm working on the print and play magazine, the print and play one-page PDF magazine for all of you out there who want to chase high scores on your authentic hardware. There's no achievements on the NES. Who are you kidding? But there are scores, and it's up to you to make those numbers mean something. And here I am off to do my Friday at work, the last day of the work week. And if I could just throw the brakes on and turn around, go back and play some video games, what would I do? I'm kind of thinking about Duel Masters might be the next game I play. I played that a little bit last week. I want to get sharp for MagFest, and we're halfway through November. MagFest is about a month and a half away. So if I'm going to be able to compete in Duel Masters, I got to put some real time into that game over the next month. That might be what I would play, especially since I made this mixtape that I'm really into, and it's a big music time for me. Duel Masters sounds like a good game to play, with the sound off, listening to some tunes. I find that most of the games I've been playing lately require the sound. Dead by Daylight specifically, you can't turn the sound off and play that game. You need the audio cues, right? I need a good game that I can just chill out and turn the sound off, listen to a record or a tape or something. Duel Masters seems like it. Well, alright, boys and girls. It's a short one today. I'm going to go ahead and send you guys back to the studio where it's warm, where it's dry, and where all the comforts of life are. Video games, something to drink, a nice comfy chair. One place I'd like to be right now. I'll see you guys there.
Hey, I got a treat for you. Last year, was it last year already? Maybe 2 years ago. Golly. I was getting back into some of the classic punk. We're talking about Bad Brains. We're talking about Black Flag, that kind of stuff. Specifically Bad Brains and Black Flag and early Descendants albums, things like that. And I came across the Damaged album from Black Flag, and I was really sitting down with this album for the first time. Now, if you've never heard the Damaged album, the cover of the Damaged album it's iconic. It's a picture of a very, very young Henry Rollins with a shaved head, and he's punching a mirror, and the mirror is like all cracked and stuff, and it's really gritty and cool and stuff. We're talking about a lo-fi album, but it's killer. Henry later in life described those songs as battle hymns, and that's exactly what they were. A lot of the songs on it I was already familiar with. All right, there's a song called Gimme 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 that Keith Morris sang earlier in the life of the band. This is a band that went through several singers. And there was another track called Spray Paint, right? Spray Paint appeared on a compilation album, where it was 101 bands, and they were all playing 30-second songs, and some of the bands were classic, like the Descendants were on there, the Circle Jerks were on there, and the Black Flag song was Spray Paint. It's very much, I think it's the closest that that Black Flag ever got to speed metal was this song Spray Paint. All right, so that's the Damaged album. So I started up with Bandcamp pretty recently, and I was looking around on Bandcamp, and I found something called Goat Sound, which is a speed/death metal reinterpretation of the Damaged album from Black Flag. And it was a studio that put it together, a studio in Australia that had all of the bands that they work with all come in on one day, and every one of the bands would record a different song, and they recreated the entire album. And it's mostly I mean, Black Flag was a punk band, and this is a metal album. This is metal with a capital M, more so than I'm used to, and I loved it. I consider this to be my true introduction to death metal. And the way they did it was the one track that Black Flag actually came close to death metal on, they slowed that one down a lot. And this is what it sounds like. This is I want to get the names right. Jamie Hay and Liam White. They're singing Spray Paint. Now, mind you, this is like a million times slower than anything else on this album. But it's of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of albums I've listened to on Bandcamp at this point, Goat Sound, which is a free album, by the way, is absolutely the best. Absolutely, without a doubt, the best.
To say what I want, it feels good to knock things down. It feels good to see disgust in their eyes. It feels good, I'm gonna go on, spray paint the walls. I don't wanna see their plan succeed. There won't be room for people like me. My life is their disease. It feels good, I'm gonna go on, spray paint the walls. It feels good to say what I want. It feels good to knock things down. It feels good to see disgust in their eyes. It feels good, I'm gonna go on, spray paint the walls. Spray paint the walls. It feels good, I'm gonna go wild.
Alright, that requires a little bit of context, so I want to give you a little taste of what the rest of the album sounds like. Just a few seconds. I'm not going to play another song, but listen. Alright, this is called Acid Vein. They're playing Gimme Gimme Gimme. It sounds an awful lot like the Keith Morris version. Now listen to this. This is where it changes.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I think I've listened to this song like 200 times by now. Alright, that's about enough of that. That's the Goat Sound album. Oh my gosh. If you look, I know everybody who listens to this show is not a metal guy. I know everybody who listens to this show is not a punk guy. It's if you're even close, I would give it just a little listen, because it checks all the boxes for me. It sure does. All right, so now you know what time it is. We're 42 minutes and 3 seconds into Tiger Claw Radio, whatever number this is. Wish I knew the episode number. I really don't off the top of my head. Oh, by the way, while we're talking about episode number, I coded the last one wrong. So Hemrock pointed this out to me. When I was doing the tag, I left it as the default tag that Audacity brings up for TCR, and it's like an old episode. So if you've got an MP3 player and you can't find last week's episode and you know you put it on there, the number is probably wrong. Really sorry about that, guys. I was struggling to get it out when I could, and here I am struggling again. And that's just a byproduct of me rushing through little administrative things that need to be done right. And I'm really sorry about that. So, is what it is. Okay, now boys and girls, let's go to the Vancast. I want to hear what you guys got to say. Now, any way you want to interact with me, it works. It works. If you know me personally, just shoot me an email. The only thing I ask, be clear about what I'm allowed to read on the air, because I don't want to accidentally, tell me it's for the fail bag in the subject line or something. Or you can leave comments on YouTube. I love this stuff. I really do. It's one of the ways, without spending money, that you can really support the show. Is just, talk to me. Let me know what's going on. All right, so let's head over and read some emails. All right, hang on. Getting them open right now. Hey, here we go. This is from Hemrock, my good buddy. My goodness. Coming to the rescue once again. He writes, "Hey, CF. I hope this email finds you well. Thanks for another episode. Pretzel, cornucopia, hydraulic chainsaw. Oops, sorry, I forgot to turn off my Google Translator. I'm sorry that Google failed you. I haven't tried Google Translate extensively, but I do remember having success when using my phone to take pictures off a computer screen. Was the text you were trying to capture scrolling or moving at all? I figure the translation app would be most successful when used on still images, such as an RPG menu, taken from a non-CRT flat screen. All right, let's stop the email right there so I can answer some of those questions. Those were taken, I was using it on a CRT, but they were being used on a still, like a static menu. The pachinko games for the NES, for the most part, they resemble RPGs, like Dragon Quest, those are the Dragon Warrior games, Final Fantasy 1, those types of things. They've even got similar, they've even got similar gameplay wherein you walk around in an area, you can talk to people. You've got money, you go to a shop that looks a lot like a Dragon Quest shop. That's what these games are like. So I used it on a menu like that. The whole screen was black. There was some white text. It looked a lot like the start to the original Dragon Warrior, and it just couldn't hack it. I suspect it was because it was on a CRT. And I wouldn't need to always play it with this thing on. It's just that I wanted to know what was where. The pachinko games, I don't know what the deal is. Here's the thing about pachinko. Those games must have been beloved over there in Japan, because these are really complex games with a lot of options. A lot. Okay, let's get back to the email. He says, at the end of the last TCR, you expressed concern about static. I want to let you know that only a short segment of the episode was affected by static. Thank goodness. When are you going to upgrade your Game Boy and your gym bag for a GBA so you can fine-tune your Duel Masters skills? Have you been playing it much? You briefly questioned the jumping mechanic in Pac-Mania. I think jumping in Pac-Mania is to jump over the ghosts. All right, quick break to answer the questions. That's a good idea. I should do that. My copy of Duel Masters has been in my suitcase, my briefcase that I take to work, so that I can play it as soon as I get out. I can play it as soon as I get out, and I can play it while I'm waiting for my shift to start. Because when I go to work, I'm always super, super early. I hate being late. It's hard enough to be good at what you do, just on its own. I can't deal with having to be good at what I do. I can't deal with starting my day in the hole, because that's what happens when you're late to anything. You're starting in the hole, right? And then you have to play catch up. So I'm always super early. I have my breakfast at work. I got to get there early so that I can already be there and then get myself together before my shift starts. I usually play some Game Boy during that time. Yeah. So I should. That's where it's been. I do play it. I'm still struggling to get used to it. Duel Masters is a game that for me, I get it now, but it didn't come naturally to me. For something about Yu-Gi-Oh, I kind of caught on to it pretty quickly. It just took like a little bit of reading, and then I was there. I started to get it, just with a couple of plays. Something about this game, I think it might be too many trading card games in too short a time. Like I got some Vanguard cards, I got Magic cards, I got Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I got Pokemon cards, and my kids are kind of looking at those with a little bit of interest. So there's a lot of them in a really short period of time, and as time goes on, more and more of them are getting more difficult for me to pick up. I've also got Force of Will cards. I got a big box of Force of Will cards to use to play with Alex Swingle, because we play card games over webcams on occasion. And I just haven't taken the time to figure that out as well. I do like the game. I like it. But, you know, it's slow going. Let's get back to the email. You briefly questioned, the Pac-Mania. Pac-Mania is a good game. You also discussed your time at IHOP. This is a little off topic from video games, but do you have any funny and or crazy stories from working there? Oh my gosh, do I ever. I thought you'd never ask. First of all, I loved my time at IHOP. I worked there for 2 years. And how old was I? 19 and 20? That's how I met my wife, was working at IHOP. And when you wait tables, the tips that you get are taxable income. So the minimum wage for waiters is much lower than the regular minimum wage. At the time, I was being paid $2.15 an hour, because I would make the $2.15 an hour from the store, and then I would go make the tips. And that's what I was living off of. I don't know if that's still the case, but that was rough. I remember a couple of times getting checks that were for $0, and they had to legally issue a check. So they would give me a check, it would be for $0.00, and it would be because the taxes that were taken out was more than what the actual check had on it. So that was pretty rough. And the best thing I can say about IHOP is the highest compliment I think I can give any restaurant, and that's that I worked there for 2 years and I'm still willing to eat there. There wasn't any really disgusting story, and I worked with a lot of high school kids, so I mean, gross things could have happened, but they didn't really. One time we had, this was towards Christmas. I swear this happened. I was on the early shift, right? So I would work from 7:30 to about 3:30, or whenever they decided to change the shift, usually about 3:30. And one morning in the Christmas season, a guy walks in. Now you have to understand, it was more often than not at 7:30 in the morning, it was always the same people who would come in to eat, always the same guys. Old guys who liked their same table, they would order the same thing, and that was just part of their routine before work, you know? And then there was a certain period of time where it was just those guys eating, and then the regulars would come in. So while it was calm and just those few people were eating, a guy comes in a bathrobe, and he's got a snare drum, and he's set up like how in the marching band in high school people would have these drums and they would have like a harness on. So he walks in with a snare drum, and he's singing Little Drummer Boy, rum pum pum pum, and he's not well, by the way. And this is a quiet restaurant, and he's banging this drum, and we're like, what are you doing? And this one guy who was like older, the older waiter, was like, "You got to go. This is a business." And he's like, "What song do you want to hear?" And it turned out he had a lapel mic on, and he was from like a local radio station, and they were pulling a crazy prank. Whoa! And their idea of a crazy prank was to play a snare drum and bother, 4 senior citizens who were trying to eat, toast and egg beaters in quiet. That's about the craziest story. But I missed that job. I worked with a lot of young people. It was a good time. I had a lot of really good friends too. That's my craziest story. Nothing gross, nothing disgusting got put in the food, but hey, it happens. Let's get back to the email. He writes, what does it say? I lost my place here. I think I've seen some pachinko video. I've seen the same pachinko video on YouTube that you referenced. It's the one that spends 30 minutes detailing the intricacies of various video game iterations of pachinko, only to tell you at the end that it's not worth your time. The irony. Yeah, it was really disappointing. I actually have Fantasy General in my GOG library. I should probably take the time to play it, given your praise of the title. Yeah, man, I know they gave it out for free at some point. If you got it, install it, give it a shot. I personally, I like to play skirmishes. I played like the first couple of missions in the campaign just so that I could understand how the game would work. Then I just do skirmishes. Fun game. I put in a couple hours into it, and it's been good. Back to the email. He writes, I enjoyed the chiptune demos with accompanying narration. Some of this stuff has that signature Green Leo feel. Thanks, man. Leftover Macaroni. What a name for an album. It seems like someone may have been inspired by the bizarre track titles of Starship Amazing. Absolutely. Perhaps you can have a competition for the most off-the-wall song names. I still think Unskippable Anime is fitting. I'm looking forward to the new Green Leo release. When can I get it on cassette? All right. When can you get it on cassette? Here's the thing. There is something I saw in a YouTube video where this couple was putting together a cassette that they were going to sell, and they only had 20 minutes of music. So what they did was they recorded their 20 minutes, and then after the 20 minutes were over, they opened up the tape and they cut it, and they threw all of the rest of the tape in the garbage can, and they spliced the end of the 20 minutes together with the end of the reel. The idea being, hang on, my phone's going off now. The idea being that the 20 minutes was the entire length of the tape, so that you would listen to the tape, and at the end of the tape, it was over, and you could just flip it over and, you know, listen to it again. They could put the same thing on both sides. That's what I want to do, because I can tell you one thing for sure, my album isn't going to be long. The past albums were like 15 to 20 minutes. I'm sure this one's going to be the same, especially since I'm starting to notice productivity is slowing down. I sit down with it, and I'm still making progress, but it's much slower progress. So I'm starting to feel the pressure to get it out, because I worry if it takes too much longer to release, then it will not come out, and that's what I'm worried about. When it's released, I will absolutely make a cassette tape version for you. Absolutely. Because I'm going to make one for myself as well. I considered doing a small release of cassette tapes to sell, but I did this mixtape thing I talked about earlier, and every part of producing that tape, every part of it went wrong. I have some commercial tape cases that I can use, but the dub got all messed up. Trying to do the dub, it chewed up the tape. I tried to, it took forever to make to print and make a tape case, like the slip cover, what they call the J card, you know, and there was misspellings on it, so I had to print it a second time. And I had troubles with the label maker that I was using to put stickers on it. Every part of this gave me trouble. Now, to be fair, I learned a lot, and when I try and do another cassette, it's going to work better. But I don't know. I'm going to do more of these mixtape exchanges to try and work out some of the kinks in my cassette tape production. But yeah, man, you're on the tape list for sure. Also, while we're on the subject of tapes, I know this is a little off topic and I'm in the middle of an email, but I want to get this out before I forget. I also got a mixtape from Kaiser, good old Retro Kaiser. Now, this was like 8 years ago or something. This was a long time ago. He just sent me a cassette tape. He was saying, hey, man, I put this thing together, want to send it to you. Oh, it's the awesomest thing in the world. He drew a little picture of the old school CF blob thing that I was putting in videos. And he just sent it over. No strings attached. It was just something that he had the idea to build, and he made it and sent it to me. It's cool. I put it in the machine this past week, and it starts. It's the first thing you hear is like some trance, some calm trance sounds, and then a woman's voice goes, "This is a Dreamcast disc. If you put it in a stereo or Wi-Fi, you will damage your speakers. Please remove it now." And then it goes into something that sounds like it's from a Sonic adventure game. It's good stuff. It's a good tape. That is a treasured part of my cassette tape collection. Kaiser, if you're listening, even though it's been a long time, I certainly appreciate it, brother. Let's get back to the email. When will we see the Ouya review and the Space Quest Let's Play? The Space Quest Let's Play is nearly done. I'm going to work on that on Monday. Hopefully it should be out this week. The Ouya review is a little bit tougher because I seem to have lost the controller. I went looking for it this past week. I haven't found it yet. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do about the Ouya review, but we'll figure it out. And finally, he goes on to say, I love the longer episodes. Keep them coming. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. The worst day of the week for me is a variable, but if I had to pin it down, I would say a Monday. Second choice is Saturday on the occasions when I'm working on the weekend. Yeah, I feel you there, man. If you were absolved of all responsibilities and only had your Ouya, what 3 games would you play? Wait, were there more than 3 games released for the Ouya? Winky face. Keep rolling retro. Hemrock. R.I.P. Burger Rider. Yeah, man. I would pay money to get to hear from Burger Rider again. All right, we got a couple of things here. We're talking about what the worst day of the week is. For me, the worst day of the week is a tie. It's a 7-way tie between all days of the week. Please help me. And you asked about the Ouya. What 3 games? And I'll tell you what, there were 3 good games. Okay, so the 3 games I would play would be Killing Floor Calamity is the #1 game. I used to play a lot of Killing Floor on Steam. I was with a squad. There was several of us, enough of us to fill out a team. My older brother was in there. Sean was in there. Kaiser was in there. My buddy, my one buddy whose name I don't want to say because I don't want to put his ID out there. But somebody I know, in real life, he was in there. He was the biggest proponent. It was awesome. We had like a full team of dudes I knew, and it was, oh my gosh. Killing Floor during that time was amazing. Now, that was a Steam game. There was a top-down version called Killing Floor Calamity. It was an Ouya exclusive. And I got a hold of that, and it was a good game. It's no longer exclusive. I think they added it. They put it on like Google Play, but good luck finding a mobile device that can run it. I don't know. I would play Killing Floor Calamity for #1. I also had Final Fantasy III on the Ouya, and it was a port of the DS version. Pretty solid. I played it quite a bit. It was good. I played a game called Nimble Quest, which was a little mobile game that, not a great game, but it really clicked with me. To name a few other really good games, there was a really excellent port of the Gianna Sisters. Not one of the modern Gianna Sisters games, but like a port of the original Gianna Sisters. It was called The Great Gianna Sisters. It was a Commodore 64 clone of Super Mario Brothers. Medalta Castilla was a great game. It was a clone of Ghosts and Goblins or Ghosts and Ghouls, one of those types of games, but you had the ability to throw the spear upwards if you wanted. That game's still around. It's on Steam, but it was free on the Ouya, and it's like $11 on Steam, so go figure. Duck Game is another amazing game. Oh my gosh. Look, when we go for MagFest, we're going to play some Duck Game, all right? That's a 4-player battler game, local multiplayer. It's a great game. Super Indie Carts I would play. I play that a lot with my son. I had the original, I had the PS2 game, The Bard's Tale, that was on the Ouya. I had that as well. It's a pretty good game. Pure Solar came out on the Ouya, and I was considering buying it, but that's when everything died for me. Was after Pure Solar came out, but before I actually bought it. That's how I was going to buy it. I was going to play it and whatnot. I wasn't interested in chasing down one of the official games, and the Steam version hadn't come out yet. So, Pure Solar, that's a game. Pinball Arcade is on everything, but I paid $20 and got the starter kit, and I played it quite a bit on the Ouya, as well as VVVVVV, and it's another game though on everything. There were also several free games that were pretty charming. Terry Cavanaugh made a game called American Dream that was really bizarre. It was like a stock market trading game. It was very weird. I don't know. If you look up American Dream and find it on the internet, I'm sure there's a PC version and I'm sure it's free. Bizarre doesn't even begin to describe it. Like you'll download it, you'll start playing. This is just a stock market game. You buy this and then you sell it and you try and make your money go up. And then after you've been playing it for like 20 minutes, let me just tell you, brother, it gets weird. It gets very weird. Like adults only weird. All right, let's see what else we got. Thanks for writing in. My buddy, I appreciate it. It's always good to hear from you. And we did get an email a couple days later that was, let's see, the Failbag Addendum. CF. Yeah, okay, so this is about the PS1 Mini. This is what I teased at the top of the show. And he writes, CF, this is a quick question in addition to my other email. What are your thoughts on the upcoming PS1 Mini? It seems to have received some bad press recently with complaints of only having one save slot per game, limited to no graphical options such as scan lines or upscaling, no DualShock controllers, and the absence of high-profile games such as your beloved Tomb Raider. But hey, at least they have the courtesy of including 2 controllers with the console at launch. Here's the game list for your easy perusal. And we're just going to shotgun through this real quick. You guys have probably heard all these games by now. Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, the original Destruction Derby, Final Fantasy VII, the original Grand Theft Auto, Intelligent Cube, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, Rayman, Resident Evil Director's Cut, Revelations Persona, that's the first Persona game, Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Siphon Filter, Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, which is an odd choice, Twisted Metal, and the original Wild Arms. You know, I'm on the fence, but here's what I think about this. This is a $100 console. I've got to put 100 hours into this thing to make it worth it, which is something I rarely do. So I look at this games list. There's got to be games on here that hook me. Okay? One that sticks out to me is the original Wild Arms. I've had Wild Arms 2 for 15 years, and I never got a hold of the original Wild Arms. I borrowed it from a pal once. I know it's a solid RPG. If I were to play through the original Wild Arms, I would get this. That would involve playing through the original Wild Arms. There's other games in here I would play. I always liked the original Destruction Derby. I would play that. I probably wouldn't touch Final Fantasy VII because I would be more interested in playing that on the computer. Intelligent Cube was a fun game. I had a friend who had a demo for the Intelligent Cube PS1 game, and then later in life, I was like, yeah, that old game that the kid around the block used to have. How much does that cost? What's that? $125? Ha! No thanks. So this would be a chance for me to play Intelligent Cube in a real setting. You know, one where I have a legit, authentic copy. I kind of want to play Jumping Flash. Like, here's the thing. This number of games, I think it's impossible to do right. Because the PS1 had so many good games, which is such a good thing for a system. This list is not the worst list in the world. There are some solid titles on here. Now, there's some really keystone games that are missing, such as fans of the Persona series say, how come the first one is on there and not the second one? The first one, among Persona fans, the first one was not where that series started to get traction. That was like the oddball black sheep game. So why is that one on there? Could have put the second one, could have put the third one, something like that. Okay, granted. Another, let's see. Destruction Derby. Destruction Derby had 2 games on the... well, it had 3 games on the PlayStation 1. It was from Prognosis made the game. It was an amazing game. Remember earlier how I was talking about how games used to hire bands to make music? Destruction Derby was one of those games. They hired a metal band, like 3 metal bands. And the soundtrack for Destruction Derby 2 is absolutely amazing. Do yourself a favor, if you're on the YouTubans, go look up Destruction Derby 2 soundtrack. It's like 1 hour of solid speed metal. Just pure speed metal without a single word spoken. And it's so good. Destruction Derby 2 was a game that improved upon its original in every single way. And everybody I knew who played those games knew that to be the case. So it seems weird that the first one is on there. The same could be said for Twisted Metal. How come they didn't put Twisted Metal 2 on? But at least that one kind of makes sense, because Twisted Metal was such a long-running series. It had like 5 or 6 games. We'll say it's a long-running series. It's such a long-running series. I could see the logic in, hey, let's put the first one on here because that's where the series started. It's not the better game, but I see why they did it. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six is the real head-scratcher, because I get that was like a big deal on the PC. It was a squad-based game, and it was really the first of its kind, but the PS1 version is garbage, and again, every game after Rainbow Six improved upon that in a big way. Like, people who loved that game, I think, moved on from it to Rogue Spear and never looked back. Very weird game. I've never heard anybody give the Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six game on the PlayStation. Never heard anyone give that game even a speck of love. So, you know, what are you going to do? Good list, though. Cool Borders 2 is the same way. Cool Borders 3 was better in every way. Jumpin' Flash, though, that was a good pick. Jumpin' Flash is a heck of a pick. Metal Driller, I don't get. Not Metal Driller, Mr. Driller. I don't even know what that game is. I gotta look that one up. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo could be fun, though. If I were to play Wild Arms, start playing through Wild Arms, and actually had somebody over to sit down and play some Tekken and play some Twisted Metal and play some What else could we play? Tekken and Twisted Metal. And I think Ridge Racer Type 4. Yeah, and Super Puzzle Fight. Yeah, there's a few games on here. The fact that I'm spending this long discussing it, I think I'm on board, Hemrock. I think I'm on board. And the only thing that's stopping me is there's a number of really expensive things that I want to have right now. I really want to get an MIDI, like a MIDI controller, like a little mini keyboard that I can hook to my computer and use to make chiptunes. That's important to me in order to keep making music. And I'm going to dig up the resources and make it happen myself. I also kind of want to build myself a home stereo with a tape deck so that I can make better dubs and have like a real stereo instead of a cheap boombox. That's going to cost a lot. And any way I slice it, that's going to be a ton of money. A ton. An absolute ton. Because I don't have a receiver or like speakers and wire, that kind of thing. I just use little boomboxes. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think? You've asked me about this thing before, but by and large, what do you think? I think what were the things you said? There's no DualShock, which is fine. If there's no games that use it, then it doesn't matter. It sucks that there's no Tomb Raider, but what are you gonna do? I've got Tomb Raider on Steam, so I feel like I'm okay. I would be okay without it. That's another one I could talk about forever. That they're not quite the same game, but close enough. But hey, yeah, there's 2 controllers at launch. That's a big one. No graphical options. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what I would want it to do that it doesn't do. Kind of on board though. I don't know. I'll tell you this much. It appeals to me more than buying an Xbox One or a PS4. It appeals to me much, much more. All right, we are an hour and 9 minutes in. I haven't even done the YouTube channel yet. Thanks for the emails, man. Those were really good emails. I think we got some good content off those. Let's head over to, let's see, Tiger Claw TV. And we're gonna click on my YouTube channel. Oh yeah, 1,544 subscribers. We've gone up. I've gone from almost 1,700 subscribers to 1,544. I don't want to sound bitter. Here, all right. To put that into context, I was moving upwards back in 2010, and then that growth stopped when I got fired from Retroware TV, and then the channel stagnated, and it continued to drop. And now it's gone up a little bit. And this is like the first real growth I'm seeing in years and years and years. I was at like 1,530s, and now I'm up to 1,544. It's a little growth, and I really appreciate it. It's kind of hard to tell that story without sounding bitter, because I'm a little bitter. But hey, it is what it is. You know what? That's life. I appreciate that there's people watching now. I do. And you know what? I just want to be real about what's going on in my head. I don't want to be, don't want to be fake about it, because I think that's worse. I think I'd rather be a jerk than be fake. All right, so last week was 259, and we got good comments. Desm, Swingle, and Kaiser Cade. What's on my shelf? Okay, oldest first. We're gonna sort by time it was up. They were placed. Alex Swingle at minute 15. Critical toilet paper be the name of your mini flyer. No, it is not. I appreciate the suggestion, though. They're talking about the name of the print and play magazine, which I thought about for a while in my head. I was like, we're just going to call it Tiger Claw Radio's Print and Play, issue 1. Yeah, not too bad. Could do worse than that. But we'll see. That's a working title. Desm101 writes, I have seen that Techmoan channel do some Google Translate in a video. I have a couple of import Saturn games that are dialogue heavy, so I think I will try that and see what kind of text outputs. I think there was only a little bit of static at the end, but it wasn't very bad. Thanks for checking out my SoundCloud. Techmoan, yeah, man, I've seen that guy. Techmoan's the channel that did the Jake Paul one, right? When Jake Paul did his It's Everyday Bro video, they did the one that but Google Translate makes it better. I saw that when I was at work, and I had to turn it off because I was laughing, and I didn't want to just crack up in the middle of the office. That's a good video. It really is. And it puts into context what Google Translate can do. But let's be fair. It's only supposed to work for like a word or two. If you put that on an entire stanza, it's gonna come out wrong. But yeah, it's a good point. Import Sega Saturn games. Oh yeah, I don't have my Action Replay yet, so I don't have any import Sega Saturn games. Yeah, man, when's your album coming out? Because I looked at your SoundCloud and you got a lot of stuff on there. I feel like it wouldn't be very hard to just take 6 or 7 choice tracks, call it Dozen 101's Jams, put an anime babe on the cover, and then there you go. There's open up your Bandcamp for business. Thanks for the comment, man. I appreciate it. Mecha Menace writes, regarding the length of your podcasts, I enjoy long podcasts. Yes, Thursday is the correct answer for the exact same reason you mentioned. It isn't Friday, but it's so close that, and you have to go home at the end of the day knowing you still have another work day. Thursday has been the worst day of the week for me for a long time. It really has. There was a point in my life where when I woke up to Thursday, it was like sitting down to breakfast with an old nemesis. And you gotta go. You gotta go. You can't not go just because it's Thursday. If you take Thursday off, you still gotta get out of bed on Friday and finish out that work week. If you're gonna take a day off, take off Monday or Friday. Thursday is the worst, man. It really is. I was like, all right, Thursday, you and I are gonna do this. And then it started to become my favorite day because I was dead set on beating it. I wouldn't let Thursday beat me. I'm glad you guys are digging the longer podcasts. It makes me feel better about times like this when I'm starting to run over the clock. And thanks for writing in, man. It's good to hear from you. Kaiser Cade. Kaiser, my friend, who, by the way, Kaiser over on Twitter puts together a Follow Friday. Every Friday, he's like, hey, man, you guys tired of the same old stuff? Here's a few people you should follow. And every single week, he puts me in that list. And I really appreciate it because I don't do a whole lot on Twitter. Like, I say, hey, guys, there's a new podcast out. Hey, I'm doing this and doing that. But I feel like my Twitter, there's not a whole lot there. Like, I'm not coming up with spending time writing good jokes and putting them on Twitter, you know? Like, I guess I hear this mostly from, like, the bigger YouTubers. Like, man, I was really working hard on that tweet. Really? You were? Why? It's Twitter. I don't know. My favorite tweet I ever did, which I ended up redoing several times because I liked it so much, I just wrote, this is a political tweet, or this tweet is about politics, and I put a picture of a puppy, and that was it. Because that's Twitter for you. Anyway, he writes, how about calling your magazine Tiger Score? And you know what? I really like Tiger Score. I kind of like Tiger Claw Radio's print and play because that makes it clearer what you're supposed to do with it, like why I'm bothering to make a single page magazine. But Tiger Score is really good. Tiger Score sounds a lot like something from the Atari era. You know what I mean? Or like maybe one of those British magazines that you can download from that website Travers worked on, Out of Print Archive. I like Tiger Score, but we'll see. We'll see. I gotta get the magazine together first. I got a couple weeks to do it and still make November. I want to see if I can get the first one out on the first week of December. That's when I want the first one to drop. And we'll just see how it goes. You know, it might be rocky at first. What are you gonna do? All right, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's an hour and 16 minutes and 15 seconds into this episode of Tiger Claw Radio. I don't know why they're all going long now. Maybe it's because I do the Vancast and then I come back and realize I actually have things to say in the studio. Maybe. But I'm so glad that you guys have responded well to the longer form. Makes me feel really good. Makes me feel like I'm doing something right. So thank you. But most of all, what I want to do right now is two things. One, I want to thank you for your time. Because there's a lot of ways you can spend your time now. And I feel like with media, especially with amateurs like me, everybody's competing for you, for your time. Not for your money, not for, anything like that. Just the fact that your eyeballs are and your ears and your attention is here instead of somewhere else. There's so much value in that. So thank you. That's one thing. And another thing is to offer a little encouragement. Because it's tough. It's tough getting up in the morning and just doing what you got to do. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about a lot. It gets shoved under the rug. I think it's part of being an adult. That's just something you got to do. You just got to grin and bear it. Well, you know what? That's not what this is about. This is about me telling you that I know how hard it is, because it's that hard for me too. And I want you to smash through those problems and do it. Do it anyway. All right? Especially if it's hard. Think of the hardest thing you have to do in your week. All right? The one thing that you know you don't want to do, and I want you to run right at that, like, ah! And then smash right through it like you're a polymorphic, gigantic pitcher of Kool-Aid. That got really ridiculous. Look, I just want to say I'm rooting for you. I know life sucks. It's really hard, and I'm sorry that it is that way. Do the best you can, especially this time of year when seasonal affective disorder is starting to settle in, and it becomes harder to get out in the morning. Everything's gray. Unless you're Kaiser and you live in Australia, and everything's awesome now. Love you, brother. Hope you're listening. All right, boys and girls. That's enough from me. I'll see you next week.